Okay, hi. Sorry, there's a plane passing over right at the moment. So, it's been a long time since I did an update. So, mm, I'm going to show you what happened in the garden, how it all turned out. This is one of the few places that's still going, and that's the pepper patch, which I hardly pick any of these. You know, look at that one. Was waiting on this guy to get ripe, and it seems to have been kind of attacked by something. It's almost ripe, almost fully ripe. You know, you could pull the bad parts off. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what type of girl I am. I'm going to throw it in the woods. Why do I do that? I could just bury it. I could bury it. Oh, well. I'll just bury it in there. Okay, so this is what I'm doing. There's ripening peppers on here. As you can see, they're everywhere. These are hot banana peppers. And you can see banana peppers, they're not just yellow. When they get ripe, they turn red. And there's another little green pepper way back there. Anyway, got all kinds of stuff going on. These little babies are hot, but they have sort of a lemony flavor to them in their heat. You can see just peppers all through here. I'm gonna pick them and give them to my friend. Pick a bunch of them and give them to her. My cousin, there's still blossoms, but my cousin's husband is gonna come and dig up some plants and take them home and overwinter them. He doesn't really like hot things. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, he's the one that has the Grow Light company, and so he's grown peppers out in his yard in the past, and I think he just wants to like give the experience of growing to their son. Anyway, all right. Here's some of the herbs that I planted in the spring. These are chives. They actually overwintered last year. And I pulled them out, put them in another container. Then I am putting them in here. So 9 times out of 10, they'll survive the winter out here. That's some time that will live. I mean, it'll die back, but then it'll come back in the spring. This is sage. Same thing with the sage, I believe. Yeah, the sage is hardy here in this zone where I am, which is 5B, 6A, something like that. And this is hyssop, I believe. And it is also hardy in this zone. This is just some mulch that I'm gonna bury and it'll break down one of these days. This is a volunteer cucumber plant, I believe. And it popped up back in late in June. So it's not gonna have time to do anything, but since it grew, I just decided to leave it. Here's the collard greens. Just picked them about a week ago. And as you can see, they're already growing back. This is actually their time of year. This is actually their time of year. So I'll pick them again before I kind of abandon the garden for the season. This is a volunteer cherry tomato plant. There's the fruit. Those are the most delicious plants. I'm gonna go find the seed packet and see what seed packet that is, because I would definitely grow those again. Those tomatoes are delicious. I'll post it when I find out what they were, but they're so sweet and yummy. There's another collard green plant right here and right there, back behind there hiding. These are all these big things. These are the Brussels sprouts, which finally started sprouting. They were planted in March and they came outside in late April, mid-April, and they never did anything through the whole summer. And now my niece who wanted them, she read where if you cut a bunch of the leaves off, which is what the rabbit did when he was eating the leaves. I didn't know he was doing me a favor. um, anyway, then they started budding. And this is also their time of year, being of the brassica family. So she'll get to have some Brussels sprouts. Now, I'm gonna go on the other side where you can see, look, the okra. This, last time I planted okra, only had one okra plant. And I get one little okra at a time, probably get like 2 okra a week. Man, I threw away more okra than I harvested, way more. Because if you leave them a day longer, and let alone 2 days, you end up with something, instead of something like a regular size okra like this, you end up with something as big as a banana. Like that big and that fat around. Outrageous. Like this one right here, he's on his way to just being a giant. I think that one might still be edible, or it could be a little bit too big. It could be all right. It's still flowering. It was had flowers on it yesterday or the day before, and they open up and close back up, and then they fall off, and then a little okra grows in its place. So this is a far cry from 2020, when I didn't get 2019, I think, when I first planted okra, and I finally got one little bud on there, and it was October. And it didn't make it. So if I had a lifetime, I'd have been good at this stuff. These are some I picked the other day and then left them out here and forgot them. But it's good because had I left them on the plants, they'd be inedible by now. They would be, you can't believe how big they get. I wish I had a great big one to show you, but I buried them all under the soil to turn them back into compost. So these are some, this was the watermelon patch. As you can see, it's gone. I didn't pick not one watermelon at the right time. Not one. About every one I picked was early, too soon. That's the hardest part about a watermelon, is knowing when they're ripe, picking them before they're mushy. So I think you just gotta have hundreds of them, and then you just hit upon some that are right. That's why when you go to the grocery store, most of the time you're not gonna get a sweet watermelon anyway. This is some other stuff that I dug up from other places and put here. Just had extra plants. This is different sorts of lavender. 1, 2, 3 kinds of lavender, and a 4th kind of lavender that has pink flowers on it. It's not looking its best, but it was prettier than that. But I didn't want to kill it because it can live through the winter here. And that's some oregano, which will also live through the winter. It'll die back and live. So I'm gonna harvest these guys one more time, and because there's a lot of okra on there. About everywhere you look is some okra. I'll even take the little ones. I'll do it today because these ones that you see that are borderline, they'll be too big tomorrow. Like that one's getting where it's too big. Anyway, I'll pick those, and I'll probably cut these plants down because I can fill these beds the rest of the way. Because see how it's settled down? The dirt settled. So I'll fill them the rest of the way, and then I'll put them to bed. These okra stalks on these plants are like tree trunks. This was a runt, but it didn't stop it from making okra, did it? This is a pretty thick one. They're thick. I'm gonna have to put these, I'm not even gonna try to compost those. Those will be a couple of years breaking down. Here's a little bitty okra that formed on a plant that all its leaves died. Anyway, it's not that thick, but here's the thickest one. Look at this. Do you see that? And when I tell you that's hard as a tree trunk, it's hard as a tree trunk. Now, the other phenomenon that happened in this bed was, as you can see, the descending heights on these plants. Everything that grew in this corner here was big, and everything else was kind of stunted and runted. I have no explanation for that. They weren't blocked by sun. It just is weird. And even the onions that I grew in this bed, same deal. From here, they were going down in size. Weird. Um, so these were the zinnias, giant pink zinnias. I kind of let that get out of control. They were so pretty. When these flowers aren't really even in their full bloom. They're super pretty, but this is just the beginning stage of it, and then they get all kind of like a pom-pom. That one's not even finished, in brilliant pink colors. But I would have to find some, and some of them were pale pink, like that one. They were really pretty when they're blooming all the way. I cut this all the way back, I think in early August or July. Cut it down to nothing, and look how it came all the way back, which is nice. I don't know what's going on with my poor little apple tree. Does he have a disease? Or is it just shutting down for the fall? I don't know. It never did really get full on that other side that wasn't facing the sun. As you can see, most of the leaves and stuff are on that side. But if I ever grow these giant pink zinnias again, I will have a different plan for their bed, because they need to be staked up. Because look how they're all spilling out and looking weird and stuff. The foliage is kind of out of control. The flowers are pretty. Some more of the peppers on this side. I don't know what type of peppers these are, but they're a sweet pepper. They are a sweet pepper. Uh-oh, look. A stink bug. Where's my soap? Man, I'm gonna kill him. That's what happens to your fruit. You gotta pick it when it's ripe. So here's some more of the Brussels sprouts. This side, that doesn't have a single sprout on it. Weird. That one's starting to get some little sprouts. But they can sit here. They can even live in a frost. So they can sit here till they do something or something happens. I think I'm gonna put some strawberries in here. Just this empty thing to let them winter in here. Hopefully they'll live. I might put it over there, because what you got to do if you want stuff to live, it cannot be exposed to wind. The winter wind will kill your stuff. The ones I had that were down in this little, oh my gosh. Did y'all see that spider? I think it's time to spray. Anyway, the things that were down here in this sort of a dugout, they lived well through the winter. That's the catnip. Many cats enjoyed the catnip this year. Lemon balm. Supposed to be able to make tea out of that. That's chamomile. Yeah, chamomile. Lemongrass. I already dug my herbs up, and like I said, some I put over in different beds, and I showed you the lavender and all that stuff. I dug up the cosmos. I was gonna call them pretty cosmos, but they were pretty. But again, if your foliage is not pretty, then I'm not really that impressed with you. So these are pots that I'm emptying out, because you can't leave terracotta pots out in the winter, because they'll get water in them and then they'll bust, just like a pop can in the freezer. Remember the Lisianthus? They turned out pretty. Make beautiful arrangements. They last for weeks in a vase. And I had a bunch of colors, but only the pink and yellows survived. But and they keep blooming. When you cut them, they grow back and they'll bloom again. Those are the blueberries. They've been done for months. So here's some more of the Lisianthus. Aren't those pretty? Those are so pretty. Some kind of little pom-pom zinnias. Oh, that's the other thing. If you want to see, that's so pretty. If you want to see hummingbirds in your yard, plant zinnias. They like them. They'll come all over them. That's a brilliant orange. This picture is not doing it any justice. It's about 3 shades more saturated than that. That's better. So pretty. Here's the other blueberry, all done as you can see. So I guess the weird discoloration of the leaves, maybe that's part of the defoliation for fall. These were the June bearing strawberries. As you can see, they've been done. I got a lot of runners off of them. All those were runners that came off of these, like 4 or 5 plants that I overwintered. And probably some runners set in there as well. So I'll just leave this. And I was also thinking about filling this up with runners. This bed here, where I had lettuces earlier in the season. Something really ate that strawberry up. Probably should have cut off those ate up leaves. I don't know what ate it up. I put bug dust on it eventually. And so a lot of plants. Must be about 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 30 plants, I guess, something like that. This place is a mess. I have to confess to you guys, I never did make things pretty down here. It never was pretty. I got kind of burnt out, which tells me it was super hot and I probably planted too much. And so these are forget-me-nots. It's not that impressive as a plant just growing over here, but a little sprig of it looks really pretty in a flower arrangement, which you can do when you cut flowers. More strawberries. These are the everbearing, so they keep making strawberries. There were strawberries on here the other day, but I pulled them off just because, I don't know, I just pulled them off because I felt like it would let the plants do better. Here's a bunch of runners. I don't know if I'm going to try to catch them or not. It's that lemongrass. If you bring lemongrass in the house, it'll live as a plant inside your house, but it will not survive out here in the winter. So that's that. So this is the mess that I'm cleaning up. That was ended up turning into a compost bin. This is just some stuff I didn't really want to compost and a little bit of trash in there. So my plan, God willing, is to never have a garden here again, because I would like to have my own, very own place and space to garden in, and that way, it'll be better and I can do what I desire to do. And it'll be all mine. And I don't feel like my garden was very blessed. Some 30, some 60, some 100-fold. Because I spent money and I wasn't supposed to spend any money. But I did spend money and I expanded it. I added these outer beds and I wasn't supposed to. I didn't think I was supposed to. And plus it became sort of an idol. God's not going to allow you to have idols. He's a jealous God. So that's why I don't think that my garden was as blessed as it could have been. But look at all those peppers. That's pretty abundant. Oh, you guys missed all the tomatoes. I'll make the batches of canned tomato sauce my thumbnail, because I canned a bunch of tomato sauce from the tomatoes that I picked. It was interesting, but not like super duper abundant. It would have been hard to live off of it. It felt disorganized, and it just, it didn't go like I planned it. And plus, if it had ever gotten real pretty, then I would have been more satisfied. But I didn't really have a lot of problem with bugs. I just, I have a tendency to jump all in with stuff in terms of spending money and spending time. So I think God probably got a little jealous, which he don't play that, and just put a little finger cursing on my garden, which is fine with me because he does things that are good for us. Might not, as one lady said, she said it might, her name was Wanda, Sister Wanda. She said it might not feel good when it's working, but it's working for you good. So that's the garden update, garden wrap up, whatever you want to call it. I'm not planning any fall garden. I had onions too, lots of them. I think I showed you guys the onions. They're beautiful. They're beautiful and lovely and all that. Maybe I'll take you in here and show you them. And these Lisianthus, they really were a delight. I just wish I'd had more variety of the colors. The ones that died were the purple ones, and I think I had some other colors, but they're the ones that died. Yeah, this is kind of embarrassing. There's some dirt I gotta figure out what to do with. If I don't put strawberries in there, which I might, then I'm gonna take that dirt and dump them in the other beds. God willing, if I had some kind of way, I would take all this stuff with me when I go. I'd gather up all that stuff and take it with me, the beds, and I'm gonna buy some sod and repair the spots where the beds were. All right, so let's go in here and check out the onions. Remember, this was the little grow area, the grow lights and everything. So let's see. Look at those beauties. They got the little paper skins on them and everything. Look at that little tiny thing. That is funny. It's got nerve enough to be trying to store. So, there they are. Supposed to be able to either cut this part off now, or you could make a braid and hang them by these. Here's the rest of them. They're beauties. And I've been eating them. This is only about half of them. I ate all the rest of them. I've been eating them since I picked them months ago. Nice. Very nice. So that's what's left. They're so fresh and cute. And I'm very pleased with that. It wasn't an abundant harvest, but I did, of course, learn a lot. And I promised to kill that stink bug. I'm gonna take this out there and kill him. All right. So, we won't call anything a failure. We'll call it all a learning experience. So you pressurize this with soapy water. This is going to help that stink bug, as my sister Marcel, her channel is called the what's her channel? I'm trying to think of her homestead channel. It's called wow, We Terry. I'll put that in the description box. But when she's killing pests on her food, she calls it send them to the upper room. So I'm gonna send this stink bug to the upper room so he can go everywhere them type of things go. All right, he seems to have flown the coop, but if he didn't, he ain't happy. Oh yeah, so this turned into kind of a accidental compost pile. It's not ideal, and it would be even a little better if I hadn't thrown that non-biodegradable elastic in there. And there's a little bit of netting there. I need to get brave and pick that up, because as you can see, there's also spider webs. Not looking forward to that. Oh, and all my cucumbers were a bust. That was another reason why I say my stuff was not blessed. It, there is there's definitely, yeah, we want to kill this spider too. I know he might be killing stuff, but he's just too big. He's just entirely too big. Yeah, he's having a lot of trouble now. Whew. Anyway, it definitely, oh, when I was digging up this bed, look, I found a sweet potato and a little red potato that were still buried in here. This is a basil, sweet basil. It smells so good, but it's super woody, and I don't know how it would taste. I just dug it up. I dug it. I don't think these are hardy in the winter. This is a pepper, one of those lunchbox peppers. It was in the shade and it was competing for soil and nutrients. And then once I tore the plants down that were competing with it, it started to get new leaves, because all its old leaves had died. So all these leaves are new. And like I said, my cousin's husband, he's gonna come get it and replant them, take them in his house and let them live over the winter. And now you talk about, forget starting seeds when it comes to peppers. Starting seeds indoors to get a head start on the harvest. Forget that. If you really want a jump on the harvest, keep a pepper over the winter. Now, if you live like where I live, I think you probably got to be like in zone 9 or 10, someplace that's frost free, completely frost free. Then your peppers live from season to season. You know, they get many years old. And but if you live somewhere where they get frost, you have to wait until after the last frost to set your peppers out. But if you bring this pepper plant, you just take all the leaves off of it, every leaf, and cut it back. Just like cut it all the way down. I think maybe you leave a couple leaves on there, I'm not sure, but look it up. But definitely take all the fruit and flowers off of it. And just take some of the dirt, put it inside a container, and bring it inside somewhere. In a garage, just someplace that's not going to drop below freezing. And it will live through the winter. It'll go dormant, but then in the spring, it'll come back to life. And you will be so far ahead of the growing season. And it'll be a bigger plant. I don't even know if you'll have to stake it, because these woody parts, these parts that are soft now and bend with the fruit, they'll be woody. So I'm not going to do that, but my cousin is going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't really have the facilities to do that, and I wouldn't be able to supervise them. But that's something that you could do. Oh yeah, my compost pile. Oh, maybe I was done. See, it's starting to get weeds in it. That's not how you do compost. This is not how you do compost. So, oh yeah, my cucumbers. All my cucumbers died. every single cucumber died. Every one. Because first I overplanted. And then to solve the problem of overplanting, then I overpruned. And then they died. They died. Every last one of them. I had about 12 plants. Every last one of them died. That's why this patch became a patch for, the vegetable graveyard. All right, now you might remember I had tomatillos, one in there and one over here. I will never ever plant tomatillos again. I don't like them. They're massive. And then toward the end of the season, when they started getting ripe, hornets burrowed into them and were living inside of the ripe fruit, so you couldn't even come over here and come near it. And they're just massive and overbearing. Other thing was those ground cherries. I know y'all remember how I raved and ranted about the ground cherries as much as I did over the Lisianthus. And those ground cherries, I hated them. I absolutely, positively despised the taste of them. And I had about 8 plants, and they got massive. They got bigger than anything else out here, including those okra. They were massive. And I ended up digging them all up, destroying them, and turning them into compost. So, never planting ground cherries again. Never planting tomatillos again. Both of those were very, very prolific. You might have a different opinion of me than the taste of those things, but I didn't care for it. So the bugs are starting to come out and the sun is going down. So let me wrap it up out here, and that's the update. The update from Asher's garden. Straighten it out. Saying goodbye for the season. Bye-bye. God bless.